Welcome to the video lecture on data communications. Today, I'll be discussing about the subnets in IPv4. Before that, I'll just recap the topics which we have discussed in the last session. In the last session, we have discussed IPv4 address. In IPv4 address, it is a 32-bit address. It is uniquely and universally defined a connection of a device which is connected to the internet. So device may be a computer or a router. It is a 32-bit address. So therefore, 2 to the power of 32 addresses will be there in the address space. And this address is represented using two notations. The first notation is binary representation. You can see this. This is the first byte. This is second byte. This is third byte. This is fourth byte. Or each octet. This is called each octet. Similarly, the same thing is represented using dotted decimal notation. The first byte, its decimal equivalent is 117. Second byte, it is 147. Like that, third byte, it is 29. Fourth byte, it is 2. This is called dotted decimal notation. This is another representation of IPv4. And this IPv4 address has two fields. The first field is called prefix, and the second field, that is lower part of the address, is suffix. The higher part is higher part has n bits, that is prefix has n bits, then the remaining that is 32 minus n bits will be allocated for suffix. What is the meaning of this? Prefix is the network address, that is the address of the router. You can see this is a router or a switch which is connected to the network. The remaining all are hosts. And this suffix defines connection to the node which is connected to that particular network. Okay. So if there are here in this part, suffix part, if there are, let us say it is 8 bits, then you can have total 2 to the power of 8 equal to 120, 2 to the power of 8 equal to 256 addresses. That means 256 nodes can be connected to this router. That many will be there in the network. And the remaining 24 bits for this n bits, that is prefix bits. And we also talked about the classes of the address, that is called classful addressing scheme. Here we have 5 classes, namely A, B, C, D, E. Class A, the first bit is identified here. Class A is identified using the first bit. So there are 8 bits for prefix, the remaining 24 bits for the suffix. Similarly, class B is identified with the first 2 bits with 10, and there are 16-bit prefix and 16-bit suffix. And class C is identified with the first 3 bits 110, and total 24 bits for prefix and 8 bits for suffix. And class D, there is class D and class E, no prefix and no suffix. They are identified with the first 4 bits with D is identified using 1110 and E is identified with 1111. And you can also identify the class of the address using decimal dotted notation, that is identifying the first octet or the first byte. If the first byte is ranging between 0 and 127, it is class A address. Like that, you can see all. The last one, class E, the first byte is ranging between 240 and 255. It belongs to class E. Now, class A, as I discussed, these are in the class A you can have suffix. There are 8 bits. In that, 1 bit goes to the identification. So remaining 7 bits. So there are 2 to the power of 7 equal to 128 hosts can be connected. Okay. So 128 networks in the world can have class A. Like that, class B, class C also you can see here. And class D and class E have some special purpose, okay, that we discussed in the last session. And this class full addressing scheme will have some disadvantages. It is called address depletion, and they are now almost obsolete. Okay, so the reason is for example, you can see in the class A, as we have seen in the previous slide, there are only 128 organizations in the world can have the class A address. Okay, because there are 8 bits in the prefix. The suffix will have 24 bits. So with the 2 to the power of 24, you can see this 16. There are this very large number it is. Okay, that is generally an organization. Even if you take a very large organization like Microsoft or Infosys or TCS, whichever, so they don't require these many connections, okay, in their whole network. Okay, this very large number. Okay, even if they use some 5 lakh addresses, still there are many addresses which are unused. Okay, others cannot use that. So similarly in the class B and class C, again very small it is. You can have large number of addresses in the world. Large number of networks can have class C addresses, but every network has a limitation. Okay, every network can have only 256 host connections. So this is again very small. So keeping in mind all these points, so they thought, why can't they go for classless addressing scheme instead of fixed prefix and suffix? Why can't you have variable prefix? Okay, the variable prefix length can range from 0 to 32. Now here again, how to identify the prefix? So address, you can see in the diagram here. So address, along with the address, dotted decimal notation, /n is written here. So for example, here in our diagram, 12.24.76.8/8 is an IP address. The /8 here is the number of bits in the prefix field. Okay, number of bits in the prefix field. Okay, or in other words, it is prefix length. So the remaining bits, that is remaining bits, 32 minus n bits for suffix. So an ISP can be allotted this kind of address, or in turn the ISP can allot the address to the organizations depending on their requirement. Now, when I say ISP, what is ISP? ISP is Internet Service Provider. Okay. Now, here you have some problem in the extracting the first address, last address in the classless scheme. In a classful scheme is very easy because we know the length in every class, length of the prefix. But here it is not known. So we have to use some method here. Some kind of procedure is used to identify the first address, last address, and the total number of addresses. So the total number of addresses in the block or in an organization can be found like this: 2 to the power of 32 minus n. What is n? N is a number of bits in the prefix field. Okay, like that you can find out this. Similarly, the first address can be found like this: n leftmost bit set. You retain the leftmost bit, n bits, that is prefix bits, and the remaining, that is suffix bits in the right side to be made all zeros. Okay, to be made all zeros. So we'll get the first address. Similarly, the last address, how do you find? again retain the leftmost bits, that is prefix bits, and the remaining bits, that is suffix bits, to be made all ones. So you get the first address and last address you can see here in the diagram. So prefix first as it is, this is 0, and here the prefix retained as it is, and this should be made 1. And we have also worked out some examples in the last class. This is another method where generally the protocols will do using their the software implementation. So this is how you find here. You have to find a mask. Okay, a mask, 32-bit mask for the address. What is that mask? You have to make the 32-bit in which left n leftmost bits, that is the prefix bits, all prefix bits set to 1, and the suffix bits to be set zeros. Then how do you find the total number of bits, total number of addresses? Again, compute this not of mask. Okay, not of, that is invert all the bits of mask, convert that into a decimal, and add 1 to that. So you get the total number of addresses in that block. Similarly, the first address, how do you find? So this is the mask we have already got here. Then that should be we should perform, or then our router will perform the AND operation with the address, any of the addresses which is allotted to that network. Okay, so the first address you get, then the last address also you get like this. Here you have to invert every bit of mask, then perform OR operation with any of the address in that block. So you get the last address in the block. So we have worked out the problem related to this in the last class. So this is about what we discussed in the last class. Now let us continue that today. The block allocation. Okay, who is allotting the block here? And how the blocks are allotted? See, the ultimate responsibility of block allocation is a global authority. Okay, it is called assigned name and numbers, or internationally for assigned names for an address, ICANN. In short, it is called. And ICANN does not normally allot individual internet users. It assigns a large block of addresses to an ISP. So internet service provider like Jio, Airtel, okay, or like ACT, they're all called internet service provider. This ICANN is an international body. It will allocate address to the internet service provider. Okay. Then internet service provider will allocate the allot to the block. Block means an organization. The number of requested addresses, n. Suppose an organization demands n addresses. Generally, the n should be power of 2 here. Okay, it should be a power of 2. Otherwise, what happens is in the calculation you see here, if it is not a power of 2, so you need to compute. We need to compute the n here. If n is the total number of addresses 2 to the power of 2 to the 32 minus 1, or how do you compute n? Because using depending on the number of addresses or address requirements, we have to decide, or the ISP will decide the n value. What is n value? Prefix length. Okay. So in order to decide n here, the n should be an integer value. It cannot be like 12.4 or 8.4. It should be 8. It cannot be 8.4. Instead of 8.4, it can have 9, like that. Okay. So therefore, it should have always power of 2. Okay. Suppose an organization requires 1000 addresses. Assume that 1000 addresses. Then they can go approximately the nearest 2 power number, that is 1024. Okay. So that you get n is equal to 10 here, because log of 1024 is equal to 10. So you get n equal to 10. So what is n? N is the prefix length. Okay. Then once you know the prefix length, you can easily do all this, first address, like computing all this formula here. Okay. Directly substituting prefix in decimal, prefix should be converted into decimal, what we got here, then multiplied by 2 into 10 to the power 32 minus n. So that is basically this. So using all this formula, we can compute. Then once an ISP allots this the address to the organization. Let us say it is Cambridge. Okay, Cambridge. It's allotted some 1,000 addresses. Inside the Cambridge, so let us say we computer science department, we require one group. Okay, that is called one subnetwork. Similarly, EC department require another one. Like that, all departments, hostel requirement. So every department requires some addresses. So that is, or they have to make their own subnetworks. So here the ISP once allowed the address to the organization. In turn, in the organization, the network administrator will allot the subnet. Okay, you will design the subnet. Okay, that is depending on the requirement. How much requirement? How many are required for computer science? For example, computer science we may require some 500 out of 1,000. We require, so let us say 250. Whereas information science may not require that many. They require only some 60 addresses, like that. Okay, depending on that, the network administrator will again design the subnetworks. Now, how to design the subnetwork here? How to design the subnetwork? So here we got the value of n, and we also got the prefix length n. Okay. The assigned number of addresses to each subnetwork is, let us say, n sub. N sub is the assigned addresses for the subnetwork. Okay. The prefix length for each subnetwork is n sub. Okay. N sub is the prefix length of the subnetwork. Small n and sub, and capital N sub is the number of addresses for the subnetwork. That is, for computer science, this will be 250. For ISC, this is 60. Similarly, here we have to decide how much it is. Roughly, we can decide this. We'll see how to decide that later. We'll work out the problem. Again, the number of addresses in each subnetwork should be a power of 2. Again, it should be a power of 2. Okay. Otherwise, you get this n sub is a fraction, or what do you call that? Floating number. So we have to have an integer number there. Then the prefix length of each subnetwork it should be found using this formula. Okay. Again, n sub is formed like this: n 32 minus the log n. See here, log base 2 n sub here. Okay, this is how you have to compute. For example, for computer science, let us say n sub is 250. Okay, if this is 250, the nearest one you can 2 power you can take 256 here. Okay, 256. So log 256 is nothing but 8. So 32 minus 8 is 24 is n sub value. Okay. Then once you got the prefix length for subnetwork, the starting address in each subnetwork should be divisible by the number of addresses in that network. This can be achieved if we first assign to the large subnetwork. So again, once we know the n sub, similar to that the masking method or the other method what we have done previously, using that method we can easily find the first address, last address, and we can also find out the subnetwork mask. Okay. Then total number of addresses in the subnetwork, etc. We can find all this. Okay. Now let us work out some. It is already worked out in the notes which is shared. Okay. I'll open another document here. Is it visible? So this is, look at this problem. This is about designing the subnetwork. Okay. So an organization is granted a block of addresses. The address, the starting address is given here with the /24 is the prefix length. The organization needs to have three sub-blocks of addresses to use in its three subnetworks. Okay, there are three subnetworks here. One sub-block of 10 addresses, the second sub-block of 60 addresses, and third sub-block of 120 addresses. Okay, so this one is the address given by the ISP, and we need three sub-blocks. First sub-block required 10 address, second sub-block required 60 address, and third sub-block required 120 address. Now let us see this, the design. Okay, design means we need to find the first address, last address, subnet masks, and the prefix, subnet prefix length. Okay, these all we need to find. So here, the first one, let us see, for the network, for the organization, see there are, here the prefix length is 24. So 2 power 32 minus 24 equal to 2 power 8 is 256 addresses in this block, or this allotted to this organization. Only 256 addresses. Then this is the address which is given here. See, this is the address that is converted into here binary 14.24.74.0, and here the prefix length is 24. This is prefix length till here. From here it is till here. Okay, then remaining bits, suffix bits. Okay, how do you make the first address? As you know earlier, retain this and make all suffix bits equal to 0. So we have done already. Given address itself is the static address. So this is the static address. How do you find the last address? Last address is retain this prefix bits and suffix bits. Make all suffix bits 1. Okay, so you get this. So 14.24.74.255 is the last address allotted to that organization. Okay, let us say this is a Cambridge. Okay, last address allotted to the Cambridge is this. Now, here, the first, as per the question requirement, let us start with the third one here. Okay, third one here requires 120 address. Let us say this is a computer science department, larger department in the Cambridge. So sub-block requirement is 120 addresses. Okay, that's the largest sub-block. You have to always start from the largest sub-block here. Okay. So here 120 addresses are required. 120 is not a power of 2. So what is the nearest higher number? So we allocate 128 addresses. 128 is the power of 2. So how do you design the subnetwork mask can be found here, as we have seen in the previous slide, the formula. That is, what is that? N sub. This is N sub. Small n sub is this, equal to 32 minus log capital N sub. Okay, capital N sub. So capital N sub is 128. We need to find this small n sub here. So 32 minus log 128. Log 128 is 7. So 32 minus 7 is 25. So the subnet mask, okay, that is nothing but the prefix length, total prefix length is 25 here for the subnet. Okay, so you see here, we'll start from the first address that is given here. The first address is this. Okay, so the first address is this, and we got the prefix length here. So prefix length is from here till here, that is 25 bits. 25 bits, remaining 7 bits for suffix. Okay. Then again you have to find the first address. So this itself is the first address, or the method, we know that. Retain prefix bits as it is and make all suffix bits equal to 0. So you get the first address. Similarly, how do you find the last address? Retain prefix bits and make all suffix bits equal to 1. So we have made 1. Now you convert that into hexadecimal. You see here, the first address you see 14, that is the decimal equivalent of this. 24 is this. 74 is decimal equivalent of third byte. And you can see this 0, including this, see, including this 0. Together, this is the decimal equivalent of that 0. The least significant byte, that is 0. Slash 25. What is 25? That is small n sub. Small n sub, that is this. Okay, that is the first address. Similarly, the last address is this, that is decimal equivalent of the last one. You can see the last byte here is changed. Last byte is, you can see this, all are ones here, that is this 127. Okay, so this is the first address in computer science department. This is the last address in the computer science department. So computer science department network admin can use only these addresses. Similarly, the second problem, how much is the requirement? There, second subblock, the second largest one. 60 is the requirement, but 60 is not power of 2 again. So what is the nearest value of that? Power of 2 is 64. So you can compute that n2, n sub. How do you compute? Here, same similar method there. You got 26 here. See, substitute 64 here. 26 is the number of bits. So this is my n sub 2. N sub 2 is this. Okay. And we got the first similar to that. See here. Total 26 bits allocated for prefix, then remaining 6 bits for suffix. So we got the first address, we got the second last address like this. Okay. Similarly, we can see the third one, 10. 10 is not power of 2, nearest value is 16. So 28. Okay. 28. Okay, now if you add this, you can see total number of how many you have taken here. It is 128. 128 plus 64 plus 28. Okay, if you add all of them, it is less than 256 address. It is less than 256. I think exactly it is 20. How much it is? 8 plus 8 plus, yeah, 128 plus 60, somewhere around 192, I think it is 192 addresses. Still there are some more addresses left out. One more organization can use that. One more department can use. So roughly. Similarly, the second problem. The second problem, this is slightly different. It is problem. Here an internet service provider is granted the block of this address is given here. The internet service provider needs to allocate addresses for 8 organizations. Now here another one, the internet service provider need to allocate the addresses to 8 different organizations, each with the 256 addresses. Okay. Now how this is done? Find the number and range of addresses in the ISP block. Okay. So here in every block we need to find the first address, last address, and the total number of addresses. Okay. And find the range of addresses for each organization and range of unallotted addresses. So we need to find the unallotted addresses at the end. After allotting addresses to all 8 organizations, we need to find the unallotted address. The first part what you have to do is, in the first part, the total number of addresses in the ISP, total number of addresses allotted to the ISP, not to the organization, and range of addresses, that is the first address allotted to ISP, last address allotted to the ISP. Okay. Then, in turn, the ISP should allot these addresses to 8 organizations. That is nothing but 8 subnetworks here in this case. So again, the second part of the problem is find the range of addresses for each organization. That is starting address and last address of the organization. And at the end, we need to find the unallotted addresses in the ISP. Okay, let us solve this problem. Here, now the first question, see, let us solve this first part. We need to find the number of addresses in the ISP block. That we know, that is nothing but capital N here. 2 to the power of 32 minus small n. What is this small n? That is nothing but this prefix length. So we got this 4096. So 4096 addresses are allotted to internet service provider. Okay, internet service provider. Okay, so internet service provider will allot these addresses to the subnetworks or the different organizations. So again, this is done here. We have to find the first address. This is how the method, using that mask method, we find first address, then last address we need to find. Before that, we need to find the mask. Okay, we got the mask. How do you find the mask? Prefix bits, all ones, suffix bits, all zeros. So that is mask. Then first address, how do you find? Okay, you have to take the given address. That is, the given address is this, that is 16.12, that's the given address. Okay. Then mask, perform AND operation between them, bitwise AND operation. You get this address. Okay, this is the starting address. Okay, that is nothing but the given address here. Then last address. So the given address as it is. Then not of mask. Not of mask is you have to invert every bit of the mask. Then perform OR operation between them. Bitwise OR operation. We get the last address here. Okay. So this is the range of addresses in the ISP is this. Okay, we got this here. Then each organization, the sub-block require 256 addresses because the size of sub-block is same here. Okay, size of sub-block is same. And we need to find here n1. What n sub? Small n sub. This is okay. Small n sub as per our formula. 32 minus log 256. See here, 256 itself is the power of 2. It is okay. So you can take that itself. So therefore we get 24. That is, now the prefix length for every subnetwork here is 24. Okay, 24. Now for the first one, see the first one, first organization. How do you find the first as you the similar method here? You know the first address. This is the first address. This one, that is this till here. Now the prefix length is 24 bits till here. See, prefix length is 24 bits. And mask is this, mask of the subnetwork, not this mask. So this mask is different here. This is 20 here. Okay. This is 20. But here now the prefix is 24. So therefore it is 24 bits mask till here. Okay. This is a mask. Okay. All prefix bits 1, suffix bits 0. Perform AND operation between the first address and this. You get the first address. Okay. Similarly, the last address. How do you find this? Till here it is. This is a address. The first address. This is the last address. Here we got the last address. How do you got the last address? Not up mask. This is not up mask. Perform OR operation between them. We get this. Okay. This is the last address of that. Now, for organization 1, clearly see here. This is the first address. That is the first address allotted to the ISP. So that itself is the first address of the first subblock or first organization. Then the last address of first organization is this. /24 is a notation. Okay. Then now here one point you have to remember. See, the starting address of the next subblock is the next address here. Okay. Which is the next address? Which is the next address? Okay. That, see, this number is full. Okay. As I already mentioned in the last class, largest number you can have is 255 here. That means all 8 bits are 1. Okay. 8 bits are 1 here. Now, how do you get the next number? Add 1 to 8 here. Add 1 to 8. Okay. When you add 1 to this, say all these are zeros. The carry goes to here. Okay. Carry goes to the next position, that is to this. That is to the 9th bit. Okay. So therefore this becomes now 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 here. And all this becomes 0. Okay. All this. That means the first byte or the least significant byte bits all are zeros. Here this will be 1. So now how do you get the next address? This will be 0. That is least significant byte is 0. Next significant byte is 65. Why is 65? Because we have 1 here. 1 added to this. 65. These two remain same. So therefore, here you see. For organization 2, this is the 16.12.65.0/24. Okay. Because all size of all subblocks are same. So prefix length remains same, 24 here. So therefore this is the first address. Then from here 256 addresses. How many? 256 including this 0. 255. 0 to 255 is 256. So you have 256 addresses here. 0 to 255. Then for organization 3, you have to just increment this one here. It's okay. You have to increment here. 65 becomes 66. That's all. Then this becomes 0. Okay. So that is the starting address of the next one. You can see here. This is 66 and this is 0. So therefore, this is the starting address. Again, the last address, you have to make this 0 to 255. Okay. Like that, you can proceed, or you can see use this method and compute. Okay, but it is time consuming. It is like that. You can see for 4th organization, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 8th organization. You can see this is the last address. Here you can see 16.12.7 T1.255/24. Okay, that is the last address. Now, range of unallotted addresses. How do you find the range of unallotted addresses? That is also you have to find. We know the last address, which is allotted to the ISP. That is this address. Okay. Then the last address which is allotted to the organization 8 is this. Okay. Then what is the next address after this? What is the next address after this? That becomes 16.12.72. This becomes 72 dot 200 dot 0 it is. Okay, I'll repeat this. This is 16.12.72.0. That is the starting address of the unallotted addresses. Starting unallotted address is this. To the last address is this. Okay. How many will be there? We can easily find that because there are total number of allotted addresses to the ISP is 4096. Out of that, 256 into 8. 256 into 8 addresses are allotted. That is somewhere around 2048, I think. 2048 addresses are allotted. Still we have remaining addresses. That is 4096 minus 2048. That is equal to 2048 addresses are unallotted. So ISP can allot these addresses to some more organizations. Okay, this is how it is done. This is how exactly an ISP will allot the addresses. And if you see, you can, if you are taking a connection to the house, the individual connection is one IP address. Okay, for your router, one IP address is allotted. Like that in the area, if there are 100 houses, then that together they will consider as one sub-block. In that way, they allot the addresses. Okay. So this is about the IPv4 addresses and classless scheme, then classful scheme, and the design of subnets. Okay. Now let us continue this. We'll go for the next topic here. That is here. So this heading is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, DHCP. Okay, Dynamic Host Control Protocol. See, once the ISP allots the address to the organization, and who will allot the addresses to the individual computers or individual hosts? The one way is manually the network administrator will allot. Okay, network administrator will allot the address to the host. Okay, that is manually it is done. Then other way, it can be done automatically using a protocol called Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. This is dynamically the host is allotted an IP address. Okay. Okay. As soon as you connect to the computer, connect your computer to the network, either you manually configure the IP address and mask you alert using the network properties, or another way, dynamically you can use it. There is one more option you can see there. If you go to the network properties, one more option is DHCP. Using DHCP, you can get the IP address dynamically. Okay. Once you disconnect, automatically it is disconnected, and same IP address is allotted to somebody else. Okay, maybe later. So that is what is DHCP protocol. That's a protocol. As I said, protocol means it is set of procedures. Okay, in the TCP/IP layer it is. So it is basically a client-server program. So where all these who will allot the IP address to the host? Generally the server. Okay. Then the computer, when you configure, you need all these addresses. Computer address, the prefix, length you should know. Then address of the router you should know. Which router it is connected. Because every host is connected to the router switches. And the IP address of the server, etc. All this information should know. Okay. So it is available in the server. So DHCP can be used to provide this piece of information to the host. So using DHCP, the host will get all these information. Then, see, what is that DHCP? There are a series of messages are exchanged between the client and server. What is client? Client is the host and server using a format of message that is called DHCP message format. Okay, so you cannot have your own format. There is a protocol defined message format here. Okay, you can see here. This is a message. There are different bits, the different fields in the header in that has only the header. Okay, that message has only the header. Okay, except the last one here. Of course, there is no data in this because there is no data exchange happens here. Or in other words, there is no payload. Entire message format is the header. And header has so many fields here. Okay, like that one word, this is called a 32-bit format. This is 32-bit. In that, say this is first 8 bits opcode, then the next 8-bit H type. See, what are these fields? All are given here in the table. And HLAN remaining 8 bits. The last, I mean the first one here, here this one, the last 8 bits H count. Like that, transaction ID is complete 32 bits. All this like that. See, you can see here, this is the different IP addresses. We'll see here what are those. IP addresses, all these are 32-bit in length. That is why this is 32-bit here. All are 32-bit. Okay. Then client hardware address, it is again 32-bit. Server name 32-bit. Boot file name 32-bit. Options field. It is variable length. Okay. So this is a message format. This message is exchanged between DHCP, the host and server. Now you can see this meaning of all this opcode. This operation code means there are either request or reply. Request is nothing but host is requesting to the, if a message goes from host to server, then this is 1 here. This will be set to 1 in binary format is 1. Then if the server is replying to the host, then it will be set to okay. So we were discussing about this DHCP format. Like you can see all this transaction ID. Okay, it's an integer set by the client and repeated by the server. One simple ID number it is sent by the client. Then you can see time elapsed. Time elapsed means the number of seconds since the client started to boot. So there will be time limitations. The number of times where it can elapse. That is I mentioned here. Then some flags are there. The first bit defines unicast or multicast. Other 15 bits not used here. There are 15 bits. Out of that, only 1 bit is used. What is that first bit indicates? A unicast. Whether it's a unicast means a one-to-one communication or one-to-many communication. Okay, that server one host to many servers. That is called multicast, or one host to one server is unicast. So that is differentiated here. Then client IP address, all you can see different IP addresses. Client IP address set to 0 initially it is because it's not known. Okay. Then your IP address, the client IP address sent by the server. That means a message will go from server to host. That time this your IP address, means the IP address allotted to the host is mentioned here. Then that will be extracted later by the host. Server IP address, which server is sending that? That is the different one. Okay. So there will be multiple servers in that case to identify the server. Then gateway IP address, gateway, the address of the default router. That is in some cases what happens is there will be packets will be passed from, or the message will pass from one domain to another domain, like from wireless to wired, or wired to wireless, or wired to Bluetooth, Bluetooth to wired, or wired to wireless to Bluetooth, something like that. So each one will be a different format. So there will be a gateway in between that will encapsulate the packets to another format, or the received from the network, encapsulate it and forward to the another network, depending on the protocol here. Okay, that is called a gateway here. So if the gateway is used, then gateway IP address is there here. Then client hardware address here. Client, the hardware address of the client here is mentioned here. That is nothing but the what do you call a MAC address here. Then server name, boot file name. Server name is a 64-bit domain name of the server is mentioned here. This will be 64-bit, 32 plus 32. Then boot file name, at 128-byte file name holding extra information. So a file containing some extra information, if at all it's required. An options field that has a dual purpose. It's a 64-byte option field. Yeah, it is not variable. I think I said it's variable earlier. It's not variable. It is a fixed length field as dual purpose. It carries either additional information or some specific vendor information. So it will be either carrying some additional information from server to client or client to server, or related to the vendor. So it has got three fields again: 1 byte tag field, 1 byte length field, then a variable length field. There are several tag fields that are mostly used by the vendor sometimes. There are several fields will be there. If a tag field is 53, the value field defines one of the 8 message types here. Suppose if it is, see, if this is 53, tag field is 53, this is 1 byte, then length is set to 1, then this value field is carrying one of the 8 messages here. Okay, one of the 8 messages. Together it is the option field. This together it is option. So now let us see in the next slide here. You see here, the join, first what happens here is the joining host creates, you can see here, this is DHCP discover message. Similarly, this one, 5th one, DHCP acknowledge. Then 6th one, DHCP no acknowledgement. Then second one, DHCP offer. Like that, different messages are there. So we will be using some of them here. See, what happens is, as soon as you are connected to the host is connected to the network, the host will create this message. What is that? DHCP discover message, in which only the transaction ID field is set to random number. You can see here. See, this is client, this is server. This message, that is DHCP message, goes from client to server. Okay, the IP address of the server is this 181.14.16.170. See here, in this DHCP discover, only transaction ID, some random number is set here. All others are empty. And source port number also mentioned 68, destination port number all mentioned here. Then source address, everything is set to 0 here. So only this information is there, it goes to this server. Then the DHCP server, or in some cases servers, if there are more than one servers, server responds with the DHCP offer. That is this second one. DHCP offer message, in which your address field defines the offered IP address. For joining host, and the server address field includes the IP address of the server. That means here, this is sent to the server. Server will send DHCP offer message. In that, again, transaction ID is same, and some elapsed time is also mentioned in seconds, 3600. And your IP address means this is IP 181.14.16.180 is the IP address allotted to this fellow, that is to host. Then along with the server IP address, that is this server is sending its IP address. Okay, sent to this, and source address is also the IP address of the server. It goes to the here. Okay, and destination address in this first message is set to all ones. The same thing is here also mentioned. Then once it is done, now the host will receive this message. After receiving the message, the joining host receives one or more offers and select the best of them. That means the joining host sends a DHCP request message to the server that has given the best offer. That is, a host may get multiple offers from different servers. Okay, but host will select best of them, and it will select best of them depending on its requirement. Then sends that is DHCP request message to that server. See here it is done. So this is the host is sending DHCP request message to the server, this server. Okay, that is this here. Same thing is there here. Client address, server address, everything is there as it is sent here. Okay, this is now DHCP request message. DHCP request message is sent from here to here. Okay, now what is the difference between this and this here? This is here is no IP address, client IP address, but here client IP address is set. Okay, and also the lease time, elapsed time is also mentioned. Now in turn, there is a reply from the server. The selected server responds DHCP ACK message, acknowledgement, DHCP acknowledgement message to the client if the offered IP address is valid. If this is valid, then this will send the acknowledgement to this. Okay, so acknowledgement sent to this. Okay, the server sends a DHCP NAC. Server may send this also sometimes. No acknowledgement message. In what case it will send? If the server cannot keep its offer, that means by the time this DHCP offer goes to the server, the same address may be allotted to somebody else, some other host. Okay, either dynamically or statically, it may be allotted to somebody. In such case, the server cannot offer that address to the host. So host will send, in such case, host will send DHCP ACK, DHCP NACK, DHCP no acknowledgement message to the client. Okay, in this case, DHCP ACK message goes here. if DHCP NACK, then the meaning of that is server cannot offer that IP address to the host. Okay. Now you may ask, how do the client differentiate these two messages or server differentiate these two messages? That is just using this. Okay. In the option field, the last subfield, it is value. If value is having 1, then DHCP discover. If value is 2, then DHCP offer. Similarly, ACK or NAK, all of them are differentiated. This is how DHCP operation works. Okay. Now there is one more protocol. Okay, we'll discuss this. Where is it? One. This is another protocol where network address translation, NAT, network address translation. Now, what will happen? Network address translation, what it does, what is the role of this particular protocol? It is again the network layer protocol. Say, in the olden days, what happens is they used to connect your telephone line to the modem, and in turn the modem is connected to your computer. So that modem has unique IP address, and ISP is allowed to that. Okay. But now today's situation, what happens is different. So inside the home, you will have many computers. Okay, that is called private network. Okay, private networks, or you may in the business and where you have multiple addresses. In such a case, what happens is only one router is connecting to the external network. Okay, in turn that network is connected to all the other computers, and all other computers uses address called private addresses. Okay, you can see, I'll just show in the one more slide. Here, this is see, all these computers are connected with private addresses. So this is your one small business. Okay, then see, this is a private address. Then there is a router here that is called NAT router. The NAT router is connected to the internet. The internet is only communicating to this NAT router. That is, for the packet which is coming from the hosts which are connected to the internet, the destination is this one. Okay, destination is this one. But actual destination is not this one. It may be one of these computers. Okay, but see, all these IP addresses are not recognized by the internet. Why? Because they are all private addresses, private IP addresses. Okay, you can see globally there are some range of IP addresses are not used for internet. They are used as private internet addresses, private addresses, not private internet, private addresses. Within the organization, we can use the Cambridge. We can show, if you log in, we can see these addresses, some of the computers in the Cambridge. Okay, so all these are private addresses. Okay, we have to use one of the addresses in the private. Of course, this can be repeated by another organization anywhere in the world, because private addresses are, these addresses are only within that network. The packets which are coming out from this are not going to the internet hosts. Okay. Similarly, if it is connected, the same IP address is used in some other place of the world, the packets which are created by those hosts will not come to the internet again. Okay, so that is why they are reusable. Now the problem here is this. Okay, problem here is this. What happens is, now what happens to the packets which are coming from internet. Okay, these addresses are not recognized here in the internet. Okay, what happens if the packet comes from internet? It has to go here. Okay, what will happen? So here we have to use a NAT router. NAT router that has a NAT software. What is NAT? Network Address Translation. What this will do is, see, packets which are coming from this will have the destination address as this NAT router's address. Then in turn, the NAT router will send the packets to all these, okay, depending on the address which is present in that. So how it is done? There is a table here. Okay, the address translation is done by the NAT router. See what it does. You can see here all this. The all packets going out through the NAT router, which replaces the source address in the packet with the global NAT address. So the packet you can see here, see, it is coming from this 172.18.3.1. This is a packet. The packet header has the IP address. Okay. The source address, that is, this is source, its address is this. Okay. And it goes to the NAT router. This is NAT router. The NAT router will replace this address here, because this address is not recognized here. That address is replaced with the global, where the packet is going, with the global NAT address. Sorry. So global NAT address, that is, this is replaced with this one. Global NAT address, somewhere here it is. Okay. 200.24.5.8 it is. Similarly, other way, if all incoming packets also passes to the NAT router, which replaces the destination address in the packet. Like you see, this is a packet which is coming from a NAT router. It will come to this router. Here, this one, here, till here, this is destination here. Okay, this is treated as destination. But NAT router replace this address, that is 200.24.5.8 is replaced with 172.18.3.1. This is the private, okay, address within here. So this is how NAT router will replace the addresses in order to solve these problems. Okay. The main advantage of this is these private addresses are reusable by different organizations. So only ISP has to allot this only one address here. That's a NAT router address. Then say there is a translation table. Okay, there's a translation table. You can see here, destination address is this, source address is this, destination address will be also mentioned in the header router. Header here. Okay, that comes to the NAT router here. In the NAT router, there is a translation table. Okay, there's a translation table. So what translation table has? Translation table has the two columns, private network and corresponding external IP router here. Okay. So this the NAT router table will replace the private with this one. Okay. When it is going out. So you can see here the packet which goes out from NAT. This is replaced here. 25.8.2.10 is replaced with 25.8.2.10. Is replaced with the other one, that is 25 here 200.24. is the NAT router address which is there here. Here it is replaced. This part is replaced with this. Okay. And this is replaced with this. Okay. In place of this, this will come here. Okay. Then same source is also replaced. Source is here. Instead of source, this is replaced with destination NAT router address. Same thing happens when a router comes, when a packet comes to the router here. Same thing happens here. This is replaced with this. This is replaced with this. That is done by the NAT router, receiving NAT router. Okay. So there will be some cases. What happens is there are pool of IP addresses. The NAT router has only one global address. Okay, NAT router has only one global address. Only one private network host accesses the same network. There are multiple private networks will be there. Okay, but only one NAT router. In such a case, what happens? We have a pool of IP addresses, and port numbers will be mentioned. For one private network, this is a port number. Another private network, this is a port number, and external port also differ here mentioned 8080 like that. Okay, so that is how it is done. This is about. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I think we moved 10 minutes, consumed 10 minutes more.